now recognize Territorial Member Honorable Carvin Malone.
Madam Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to stand in support of us withdrawing the Register of Interest 2022, and in so doing give an opportunity for the bill to go through the stages required in the system of governance that we have. But I could not, because the presentation I had would have taken 3 different parts, and the last being some of what you'll say. But I think it's very important that certain aspects of this are highlighted, because when the Commission of Inquiry was first presented in January of 2021, I had stated then that it was a done deal, a report, waiting for a few names and a few circumstances. Because, and as we go through certain aspect of it, I must state on record that, and in fact, what I did was, when I made my presentation on the 21st of June, I think it was, before the Commission of Inquiry, I stated that it would have been best presented as a review of governance over the 55 years, because from, I think, 67, if I'm not mistaken, 67 to now is 55 years, yes? So a review of governance, because it took into account a number of legislations that were passed in earlier years, and they were reviewing everything. This one here happens to be a 2006 report that have its challenges. But one of the things, because I asked for a bound copy of the report. There is an appendix, there's a volume 2 that deals with the appendices, and that itself is 936 pages. And the kind office up at the House of Assembly, they say this guy is something else. The main document, I can't even say how many pages because they have it in different forms. The main documents. This report was landed about 18 hours after the arrest on the 28th of April, and on the 29th it all came to us, and we were asked in a very short time to make some decisions on how these were implemented. So one of the questions I was going to try to answer is, why the haste? We'll come time and we'll do that at some other time. But it is important that I didn't get to go through all the stages, but in no time in my research have I seen where some of the concerns in governance was laid at the correct doorstep. Why do I say that? I say that because in the Constitution, Chapter 9, Section 112, Registration of Interests, it says that there shall be for the Virgin Islands a register of interest, which shall be maintained by a registrar, who shall be appointed and may be removed from office by the governor as acting in his or her discretion, meaning that this subject is under that of the governor. And this is why the member says that it is not our particular bill, is that of the governor. But nowhere in the report, I guess you have about 1,000, I think, because the AG had done a paper as to how many bits of documents had to be produced by the Office of the Attorney General. And we'll get to that because we still have a piece of the documents ready. Well, that must be brought forward because we paid for it. But the fact is that in this, it doesn't state there that there's no commitment from the governor or the deputy governor's office as to their particular responsibility. We had folks working in the office since 2006. But folks will allow for you to believe that all of this started in 2019. All of this concept as to a commission of inquiry started because of activities between 2019 and 2021. Most of it was under lockdown because of the COVID. But the fact remained that I said in January 2021 it was a report waiting for a few names. There's nothing in the report that isn't there as a result of other activities. Cayman Islands, Standard in Public Life Act. It mirrors a lot of what is in there. Cayman Islands, Standard and Public Life Act. Turks and Caicos, Integrity Commission Ordinance. It mirrors a lot of what is in there. But as the member read, we had a number of suggestions, recommendations made, and A was B2, B3, B4. It spoke of the time frame for which some of this will come into effect. And as I'm saying, I stand in support of us getting it right because we have another step to make. But unless we get the confidence of governance of our people, by our people, we don't have that confidence right now. So we have to build it. We have to build it based on a number of the items that may well be presented in the Commission of Inquiry, because the recommendation speaks to transparency and accountability, but it leaves out some of the main actors. It omits some of the main actors. And if we need to be removed, well then those who kept it as a subject, then they must be questioned also. What were you doing all this time? You can't just come and question the Honorable Premier now as to whether or not he failed because something that was in from 2006 under your particular direction, you did nothing to correct it. Where's the proof? I stepped into cabinet in March of 2019. And it was a big joke back then, but it's not a joke now. When I looked on the walls and I searched around, I searched the 4 walls and I said, well, where are the red flags? AG, you weren't there at the time. It was, the former AG was there. Where are the red flags? Honorable Whitley, you don't remember this? Okay. Where are the red flags? Because we heard a whole lot mentioned about transparency and accountability and good governance and what was being done and not done and so forth. So I said, well, when I step in here, I would see some kind of paperwork that give some form of caution to whether it is the elected officials, whether it was the senior public officials, whether it was the statutory bodies, whether it was in terms of the protocol for effective financial management and some of the concerns that were being battered about. None of it. And all of a sudden, we have a presentation made in the House of Commons, in Parliament, concerning drug trafficking, arms rolling, accountability, all of this stuff embodied into a commission of inquiry, which the vagueness of it, because I'm on record of these things, it's nothing new. The vagueness of it lent to the support that of the concept that what attained in Turks and Caicos, what happened in Caymans, what was warned about by the persons coming on radio from Montserrat and the persons coming from other parts of the overseas territories. These seem to be embodied in this document that formed the Commission of Inquiry. And I could then easily have said that this was a report waiting for a few details. So they only give it 6 months, because we can get all the facts, all the 6 months. With the brilliance of Cabinet at the time, the firm of Withers was engaged. It could be a debate as to whether or not too much money was paid, whether it should be hired, yes or no. But I can tell you, if they weren't engaged, then the entire office of AG would have been overwhelmed. And it was intended so to do. It would have been totally overwhelmed. How many? 10,000? No, sorry. 200,000 documents, thereabouts. Between 150 and 200,000 documents, affidavits galore. Other documents had been produced. But one of the questions that will come to this House is, where's the report? We want the report, because there are certain things in there which I would not have to come up here and then say, because when we were trying to highlight some of the concerns of the approach of the Commission of Inquiry, we were told to box like Sugar Ray. Be smart. We're going to have a report which will then highlight some of the stuff. Don't say anything. Don't jeopardize the particular approach that we have. Let them have their way. So when are we going to have our day? They had their way, and we cannot have our day. We need a report. We paid for it. If you have some outstanding balances, find the money, because it can't be that we have like that transaction way back then. No plane, no money, no flights. Now we have no report, no money. No, we need a report. A lot of documents were had. They did a fine job. If they weren't there, and I think the AG can back me up on this, if they weren't there, we would have been overwhelmed. And it would have been said that we are incapable of administering governance. So we need additional help to the ones we're going to get. So, Madam Speaker, we have to come to grip, because I've been accused. I've been accused of many things. One of them is the fact that I go and I tell riddles. I go and I give too much examples and don't get to the point. But the fact is, the point is here. The elephant, I heard honorable member for the third use one of them. The elephant is finally on a few toes. So everybody's shouting. Today is the civil servant. We have letters from the legal profession. We have letters from statutory board members. All of this is going to come in because the elephants start to rump. You know what is a biological solution for a roaring elephant? A little mouse. A little mouse take care of an elephant. He leaves the room. You have snakes. You know what's the biological solution for it? Anybody here know? A mongoose. You put a mongoose in a snake and you take care of business. We have to look beyond ourselves, because it was the late Franklin D. Roosevelt who says, there comes a time in the affairs of men when they must prepare to defend not their homes alone, but the tenets of faith and humanity on which their churches, their government, and the very foundations are set. the defense of religion, of democracy, and of good faith among nations is all the same fight. To save one, we must now make up our minds to save all. So at some point later, I would have to explain those various cows in the road so we can then get a fuller understanding of this. This is one of them. This is only one. The Christian Council is writing concerning a private member's bill that is occurring up in the Parliament and seeking to incorporate all of the overseas territories. That goes another cow. We're going to get all of them. We have the public registry. There goes another. We have a lot of items that is presented, and we must come to grip that it is not just about whether or not grandma and grandpa get $250 or $2,000. It's a lot more involved. So the entire nation, if we're going to get to where we need to be, we need everyone involved. Not only when it comes to their home, not only when it comes to the elephant on their toes, that the pain of one is the pain of all. And we must come to grip. And if you want to set up private sessions, private talk, private involvement, then let me know. Honorable Fraser, members of government, backbench, front bench, everybody will be keenly involved because we cannot do this alone. And the whole concept of political maturity, constitutional maturity, self-determination, all of this is nothing new. We just were waiting on the crisis. We have a crisis now. A crisis should never go to waste. If in this crisis, a good crisis should never go to waste. So if this crisis is going to get us more adapt to the concept of where we need to be, stop from skirting around the particular issues. If we miss this train, we will never get another in our lifetime. From 1962, the West Indies Act talked about how the Federation was going to be broken up, and it left provisions for the Virgin Islands to make a determination as to how they want to be governed. We made a decision then. Other places have opted, whether it's Jamaica or St. Lucia or Antigua or the other places, a number of them have made their decisions from back then. But the fact remains that we have to then look towards the future with great enthusiasm and do that which is necessary to take us one step further. So I might not have to speak under any other business because I've said what I had to say. And we would then be able to leave here and I can go to Virgin Gorda, and in honor of my good friend, Lion at Heart, and we can then go to Virgin Gorda and then we'll be back at some point. So thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for allowing me those few but important moments. Thank you.
Thank you, Territorial Member.